And we're live.
The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality?
And we're live.
The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and is now what...
Still ironing out technical stuff. Seth!
Hello, Leo.
I'm very happy that you're here. I'm very happy that we're
Great to see
able to
you.
meet despite, or maybe thanks to, everything that's happening. There's still war outside. There's still 136 hostages. There's still lots of anti-Semitism. But we need to do what Jews do best. That is see the
Oh yeah, now I'm waiting for you to tell me, what is it that we do best?
see the silver lining in everything, see the upshot, find a moment of joy, so I think this is part of our part of the secret to our perseverance is that we're able to also kind of see ourselves from the side, as it were, look at ourselves through someone else's eyes, and this is
On the one hand, I think it could be like one of our greatest attributes, and on the other hand, it could be a little problematic. I'll tell you why. If you go to Boca, for example, all the Jews are driving Mercedes, right? Like in the U.S., if you're a successful Jew, many successful Jews have no problem driving a Mercedes, which was like a Nazi car, like less than 100 years ago. We're willing to forgive, forget, and move on. Other groups, a couple hundred years later, are asking for reparations. Other groups, 70 years later, 2000, everyone's like, what about, wants their reparations. So on the one hand, it's a fascinating quality of ours. We're like, oh, you did that to us 70 years ago? How many Israelis today want to go and get a German passport and live in Germany and vacation in Germany and drive a Mercedes? We're like, okay, we can move on. The issue, though, actually, now that you think about it, is that we're so ready to move on that we don't remember our history. Not that we should be against Germans or anything, that's not what I mean, but we don't understand the patterns that keep leading to the problems that we have. We're like, okay, well, we had a problem with them. Okay, now we're friends. We had a problem with them. Okay, now we're friends. But
this could be either part, one of our greatest strength or one of our greatest downfalls. I don't know. People, the Turks, the president of Turkey was very quick to join the anti-Israeli sentiment, even as Israelis were still flying to Turkey, for a cheap vacation. That's how it is. But I think there's something there. I think there's something to that quality that it's not there. It's not a random thing. I think maybe it holds additional secrets that we haven't uncovered yet, and I hope that we can cover them today. We have a great guest today that
one of the best.
One of the best, and we're not saying it lightly, because it took a while to actually meet, because we were sick and then he was sick, but we finally managed to do it. And I want to say that I was very impressed by what he's doing. He's the brains, he's the heart, I guess, the sharp wit behind the parody Mossad Twitter account, which I think is doing much better than the real Mossad account, by the way. He's been running it for 8 years and it has over 500,000 followers. So he's obviously doing way better than us. And although he's happily married, the ladies out there would love to know that he's a certified management accountant as well, and an enterprise resource planning project manager. So please welcome Shawn Eni.
Hey, Shawn.
Hey, hold on. Theme music.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hey, Shawn.
Dun, dun, dun.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
So you, just for everybody to know, you're an American, but you live in Israel, right?
Canadian.
Canadian. Oh my
Yeah,
God, even better. We love
even
Canadians. Some
better.
of our
Yeah.
best friends are Canadian.
Some of my best friends are Jews.
That is
Uh,
nice. Um,
um,
when did you
yeah.
move here?
Oh, 14 years ago.
Why?
Um, Crossroads in my life. Finished school. I was single at the time. Said, let's try something new. Let's try something different. Just came off a vacation. I have a lot of family here. And they convinced me. They said, John, you got to come over here. You'll do well. You know English. So you'll get a great job. And that's what happened.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And w- uh, the um, the Mossad account that you're running. When did you start that? That was around
Hold on,
20.
just let's name it. The Mossad, satirical yet awesome. This is the account on X, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So everyone
Satirical
knows.
yet awesome. The at like Strudel, the Mossad IL. Don't confuse it with the other popular Mossad account, fake account
which
that's
which
going
is
around.
probably less funny.
It's terrible.
Yeah. So when did you start it? I mean, or rather, what was the impetus for starting it? I'm curious because it's a brilliant idea.
Okay. Here, I'm actually on my page right now. September 2016 is when I started it. How did it
And
start?
yeah,
It was at the time, I used to blog for a blog called Israeli Cool.
oh, David Lang. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
We had him. We had him here. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right. I still haven't heard his episode, but I did see that. So we used to blog together. I used to do articles for his blog. And we had this community, chat in the Facebook group or the WhatsApp group. And this was around the time where there were a lot of news stories coming out about people blaming the Mossad for like bizarre things. Like there's a gentleman in the UK that blamed the Mossad for breaking into his apartment and stealing a shoe, one shoe.
You still call him a gentleman.
He's a gentleman. Yeah, I'm sure he's really nice on him. The Egyptians would blame the Mossad for sending sharks to attack tourists in the Sinai. Iranians would blame the Mossad for stealing clouds. So there's just these bizarre blame the Jews for everything stories coming out around that time, and it was always around like Mossad, because who else would you blame? And at the same time, I noticed, hey, on Twitter there isn't any parody account on the Mossad. So the idea wasn't to open an account saying I'm the Mossad. It's the Mossad in quotation marks, the one that has laser sharks, the ones that steal clouds, that can control the weather, that would break into somebody's apartment and steal a shoe. Because that just turned into like a never-ending well of content, like potential humoristic content that you could just like every time a news article would come up, wow, that was perfect. Like not long after I opened the account, the Iranians again would say that they arrested 14 squirrels for spying. Squirrels, yeah.
I always suspected the squirrels are doing something, but I didn't know they were
Actually, the
working on
teenagers
Mossad.
today say that the birds are government. Have you guys heard this?
No.
Wait, that birds are
I
not
have two
real?
yeah, the birds are not real. That
Birds
they're
are
all yeah.
That's incredible.
Look, Rick and Morty had the whole thing about the squirrels. I don't know if you are a Rick and Morty fan, but
I love that show. I didn't see the last season. But...
yeah. So in the last season, it's like Morty was like, and Rick's like, no, don't say it. The squirrels will heal you, and it's like cut to the squirrels on the trees, and they're like, oh, we've been spotted, and then there's like swarm over.
Yeah.
It's good. So, do you remember your first joke? I'm curious. Like the first, because we try to look for it, but Twitter wouldn't let you go past like really 3-4 months, which is very annoying. But
yeah, I mean, I do have a lot of tweets to scroll through, but I do remember the way I opened it. I had another account that had about 4,000 followers, so I kind of launched it with that one. I would like retweet that one, and I was part of like a community where I just said, "Here, can you guys like boost this and everything?" So like the first couple tweets were like, "Hi, we're the Mossad. We've joined Twitter, and we're going to answer all your questions." And I had like my first few tweets were like a Q&A, and I was just like, "Okay, let's just be as funny as I can, right?" And that's how it started. It kind of rolled from there. And then one day, uh, we're gonna laugh again because I'm gonna say instead of gentlemen, I'm gonna say, there's a lady named Linda Sarsour. Uh,
Oh yeah, she's great.
yeah, so she tweeted. At this time, I maybe had 2,000 followers on Twitter, right at the beginning. She tweeted, I lost my iPhone, and I lost all my contacts. Does anybody know why?" And as the fake Mossad, I quote tweeted that, and I just answered yes. So that was the tweet that kind of like launched it, and overnight 10,000 followers.
Nice.
And it rolled from there. It was like that's how we started to get the ball rolling. Eventually, people were like, at the beginning, people didn't know who I was. I didn't like show my face or anything for a good year, maybe. I kept it very anonymous because I wanted that, aura of mystery.
Right.
But eventually, yeah, it did come out, uh, and yeah, it kept on promoting it from there. Um, and Up until the war started, got to about 225-ish thousand followers, and then just doubled since then. So not the best way to gain followers, but I'm glad that my message is getting out there. So
The US is involved in like I don't know, a dozen wars right now of all different sizes. And
yeah,
it might be the nature of Israel. I don't know. Maybe the Ukrainians have a similar thing, but this war, it's like a very like first person experience from I remember on this waking up on the 7th and like everyone's filming something like from their apartment window or down on the street, and then you're seeing the Nova Festival, and your account is loaded with here we are pumping water out of the beach into the tunnels. I guess a question. First of all, it's super unusual. There's something very something about Jews or Israel, or maybe just the size because it's so small and everyone knows something that it's also first person. Like we're all like there watching the war happen. All these things. The other thing is, like, are you fishing for all of this stuff, or fishing meaning like, are you going out searching for it, or people are sending it to you because you got a lot of like really close to what's happening at the moment kind of interesting. It's so fascinating to
yeah.
watch the war happen from not from like CNN, but like on the ground.
It's very today wars are totally unfiltered. People are getting their news from social media. This is a relatively new phenomenon that we've never had 20 years ago. I'm just thinking back, like the second Intifada.
2 years
Like
ago, we didn't have this. 1 year ago, maybe
two,
even.
people have cameras on their phones, right? So ever since people had cameras on their phones, people have been taking advantage and saying here. But like you go back to 2000, 2002, even when the planes hit the World Trade Center, like all the footage you see is grainy footage. People didn't have cameras on their phones. People had their, Yamaha camcorders that they had back then. So it's like here, yes, you're getting absolutely live information, and there are so many resources on social media, Telegram, WhatsApp, and as soon as somebody hits send and it goes out to the network, it gets to me, the influencers, in a matter of minutes. So we have people like soldiers are in Gaza filming what they're experiencing. You have the IDF spokesperson who has a great Telegram account, so that there's official information that is being sent out. And those are the great resources that I'm using. And people, I'm involved in a lot of WhatsApp communities, often online. And anytime somebody wants to get something out, they will send it to me, and if I deem it worthy, then it goes up.
So
Um,
who are the 500,000 people then? Is it all is it mostly Israelis? Can you see? Is it mostly Jews? Do you have any idea who's
I really haven't done an analysis. I
Any idea?
know once upon a time there was a website that could actually analyze your followers. It doesn't exist anymore, but I remember a while ago, it was probably, I don't know, 50% Americans, just a good 20% that are from India, uh, maybe 20% from Israel. My math is terrible right now because I'm after work hours. I know you said I'm a CNA, but if I've gotten to 90% already, then I missed the entire European continent. But yeah,
It's
they have
fine.
a
We're
lot
not
of
our
yeah.
fans are not big. They're not big,
Yeah.
numbers people. So
But yeah, they do have a mix from all over the world, and it's great because you do see that you have supporters from all over the world. I'm not saying that all 562.3 thousand followers are pro-Israel. Probably a good 10% of them aren't. They do have the red triangles on their profiles, which is deeply disturbing, but um, that's about it. Yeah, so we have a lot of support from the US and Israel.
and do you feel? I'm curious. Do you feel the sort of the media war happening on your account as well, or this is kind of
Absolutely.
like what's it like? Do you feel, is there like an overwhelming Indonesian bot presence?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
how is it felt on your end? I'm
Um,
curious.
I actually sent out an interesting tweet yesterday that kind of captures how I don't know, the X algorithm seems to know how to sort replies based on whether they're normal people or just bots, or people that straight up want to kill you. Like let's say you have a tweet and there's 30 replies. So just before the more replies, you have actually the supporters, like the people whose responses are actually related to the tweet, right? They're responding to the tweet. And then you have another line called more replies. You go under that, and then all of a sudden you have like people who are the bots, right? And how do I know they're bots? Because every single tweet, literally 1 second, I have 5 replies, and they're all, that's the one. There you
Yeah,
go.
see.
That's the one. Uh, so yeah, so more replies, those are the bots, and those are the people that are just like sending you pictures of dead children in Gaza. And then you have the line that says, show additional replies, including those that contain offensive content. Those are the ones that are just like, they're either porn bots or something that's just completely unrelated. And so it's doing a very good job sorting that, which keeps the conversation in play. And I've always been a fan of like putting out tweets that do have a lot of engagement. And this is before Twitter actually paid you for engagement, because
Right.
I've always said, like, I for the longest time, I think only up until recently, I blocked my first account on Twitter because I liked the disagreement on my like, I like the back and forth. I like bringing out the conversation. The only reason I started blocking since the war is because some people were just like not related to the tweet, and they're total bots, and all they do is just post 10 tweets in a row of dead kids. And we want to try to keep the conversation at least on track.
I'm curious. Are you like like a free speech absolutist, or do you have any red lines, or is it like it's all fair and humor? What's
I I have red lines, but the red lines are very, like I said, a high bar for the red lines. It's very tough to cross one. Um, but for me, it's, when it stops when somebody's threatening your life. That's because we know that that leads to action. I'm thinking about the Harvard testimony, where they're like, it depends on the context.
right?
But when somebody says that they're going to kill you, they want to kill you, and they're promoting genocide, and that turns into action, that's a red line, especially because this is like social media is free for everybody. Everybody can go on. I guess, as a person with children, like one day they're going to log on to Twitter. They're too young to have Twitter accounts today, but like once they log in, that's actually something that affects me when you have kids, when the first thing that they're going to see is we hate Jews, and to hear pictures of the caricature of the Jew and saying that Jews are all evil. Like they've never encountered that before. So that's I mean, I can't say I'm a free speech absolutist, but I do encourage engagement, and I encourage conversation. But yeah, there are lines.
Is your impetus for like the fire to do this?
Yeah.
Is it because you want to, tell the world the truth about the Jews, that we're not bad, or is it because, it's like more like a comedian's kind of approach where you want to talk about a difficult situation, and comedy is although actually since the war it's not as much comedy really as it is like real-time up-to-date things, but I don't want to talk about that difference yet. I'm wondering like what 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 is this thing inside of you that makes you do this? And
It's always Mel Brooks actually talked about it when he made The Producers. He said the best way to disengage even somebody like Hitler is to make fun of them, to find the humor and just like disarm the enemy through laughter. To me, I mean, I do like Mel Brooks, but I wouldn't say that he's like been the absolute most influential person. But I've always lived the life of, making people laugh. Even before X or Twitter or social media was born, back when, you'd comment on a news article, back when I lived in Canada, so CBC would make a news article and they'd have the comment section. You take a news story and you think of the funniest comment, and you'd get likes on that, right? So, as a young person who's just like, first making comments on the internet and seeing that positive feedback through laughter, that really gave me the encouragement when social media became a thing to come out, and you'd have like let's move to X, right? So that you'd have articles about Israel. So something would come out and you'd think of the first funny thing that pops into your head. And usually when you do that, the antis have a tough time responding to it. And it gives a positive feedback, even from people that don't like us. I mean, I've had many comments from people with Palestine flags in their user handles, and they'd be like, "I hate Israel, but this is funny." So I mean, that's encouraging for me. That's a win.
Do you think, is there something? Do you feel there's something? Because you mentioned Mel Brooks, but he said he's not the only one. So I'm actually curious to know where did you actually get your influences? I mean, I also sort of matured alongside The Onion and the US and all that, and that was for me like this, like, oh my God, one day. Sort of it was a dream I didn't get to, but I wonder, do you feel there's something different about Jewish humor compared to other bits of humor, or is humor somehow meets and is a point that's actually common, or maybe humor is inherently the kind of humor that we're talking about, this that observes and is able to sort of find something funny about even the worst things. Is it a Jewish thing? Is it a Jewish quality that people share even if they're not Jews? How do you see that?
Well, I think comedy and humor is something that unifies everybody. It's not unique to Jewish people. I think we have our own brand of humor. I mean, I tend to not like the Jewish self-deprecating stuff. I tend to stay away from that because I don't want to be representing the Jews as, you know, neurotic, like Woody Allen types. But like my influences have always been The Simpsons, a huge influence in my life, huge influence.
Totally.
Like and the writers on the old SNL writers, the Conan O'Briens. That's who I grew up with. Mel Brooks, obviously. So you'd look at a movie, and I guess growing up with that, you automatically think about how can I satirize this thing. It's just like an automatic thing that switches in my brain. And what I do with my account is like it's not self-deprecating because I don't want to, like, Mossad's supposed to be tough, right? Mossad's supposed to be like this
Manly humor.
mysterious. Yeah.
Yeah, like like the Jihadis post that he had with a bunch of fat jihadists in underwear. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. So yeah, the humor is supposed to show that like we're like awesome. That's why my Twitter handle is awesome, right? Because that's what kind of shaped the account. It's I wouldn't say I'm like redefining Jewish humor. I'm taking from all different sources that I like, and that's how it became that.
Since we're on the topic of Jews, and you know we are the Thejewfunction, and we are trying to get to the root of things. I'm curious. I think we're all curious because again, you're not the usual type who's like, you know, an activist and all that. But you're curious, what is your feeling about this? Let's start from this recent sort of explosion of anti-Semitism around the world, which I think it's clear to everyone that it was always there. It wasn't born on the 7th. It simply, got a license to appear, but it was always there. In fact, we claim that it never ever went away. It's always there under the surface, kind of waiting for these moments where these sentiments can break through. So I'm curious to know what your take is of anti-Semitism, if you thought about it, if you have ever actually went deeper than the usual explanations that we like to give ourselves. I know because we both were sort of guilty of the same thing. Oh, it's because they're idiots, they're ignorant, we're the best, people should like us, they envy us, we had all these explanations, but none of them really explained it fully systemically throughout the ages. So I'm curious to know if you've given that some thought, and you have some ideas about it.
I think everybody's thought about it and nobody's solved it. It's anti-Semitism has been going on ever since there were Jews. So I'm not going to claim I don't think anybody can claim to have the solution. It's always there. And now it's like we have to convince more people. And it's like whack-a-mole, right? When you convince one, 1,000 other influential people are going to come out and be anti-Semitic. You're right. For the last 20 or so years, anti-Semitism has been like magma under the ground. And then after October 7th, we had a couple days of like Israel solidarity. Everybody put up blue and white lights on their government buildings. And then that lasted about until IDF said, okay, let's respond. And then magma turned into lava and just spilled all over the place for everyone to see. I've been doing work in fighting anti-Semitism online for at least since 2018. Like I've had the account already. 2018, I've done some work with the government, and there's always been that conversation. Like we're trying to convince people that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And here we're looking for people to like slip up, to say Jew instead of Zionist, to say Jew instead of Israel, like the Jewish lobbies, right? And then we're like, aha, he said Jewish lobby instead of Israel lobby. Roger Waters slipped up many times, and we're like, here, he's anti-Semitic. We were looking for people that like, that were like, okay, deep down, they maybe say that they're anti-Zionist, but we know that they're anti-Semitic. Like there can't be any other explanation. Then October 7th, and then everyone just let their guards down. They're just like, Jews, Jews, Jews. Like Australia, people chanting, yes, the Jews. We're gonna fight the Jews. In London, they have no qualms about saying in the street, flying jihadist flags and saying we're going to come after the Jews. That just like, I never expected that to be the catalyst, like to make anti-Semitism just come out in the open. And I said like, here there was a protest at Columbia University, and I put out a post the other day that just said, look, it's starting to look like the Nuremberg rallies. Like people are gathering together with one focus in mind. And it's getting scary. Do I have an answer? Do we have to change our behavior? Is there a way that we can, convince the world? I don't think so. We have, this is not a new thing where we're like, here, this is who we are. Come see. You're welcome into our house and everything. You can see how we operate. We're not hiding anything. That concept is not new. I mean, why is it a tradition on Pesach to keep the door open, right? Because we want to show the world we have nothing to hide, right? So
I thought it was to lure the Christian babies so we could make the matzahs.
That's before the seder.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
When you said whack-a-mole, it really pushed my button because Leo and I are we don't see that we're going around on a Ferris wheel or like a whatever. We see a trajectory, and while I guess we're rolling through it, but we see that we're supposed to be going towards. It's true that the same thing is repeated, and Jew hatred has always been there, and it's happened in every place we've ever been. But we're not satisfied that that's it, and that's just how it is, and we just need to try and manage the situation as best as we can. We're more of the worldview that that there's some, if you want to take a bunch of monkeys and turn them into, a bunch of utopians, it's going to take like a long time, and there's going to be many failures. And that's more along the line of how Leo and I feel. Like it's not like, oh, look, like in the New Testament, even though I'm not an expert in that by any means, but it's like, look, God told the Jews to do this and they screwed up. And look, he told them again and they screwed up again. They must be bad. Like we're more of the worldview of like, I had a kid, he was 5. Yeah, he like spilled the milk. And then when he was 10, yeah, he did this. And then when he was 16, he did crash the car. But like, it's all a process of becoming something that we're supposed to be becoming. The concept that we talked to a lot of people about anti-Semitism, and a lot of people that we speak to, I don't know how many, I'm not putting you in this group, but there are people that we speak to that we need to legislate more, we need to call them out when they do this. And we like your approach, which is like, I'm going head on with my own message. I'm not just responding and suing and saying, oh, you're bad and you're bad. You pointed out, for example, on one of your X's, what do we call them? Tweets, X's? Posts. Okay, one of your posts that after World War II, I don't remember exactly, but after World War II, there was tens of millions of refugees, and by 20 years later or something, they were all settled. But with the Palestinians in 1948, there was 700,000, and today there's 7 million, right?
Yeah.
So it's insane. Like the facts around all of this, like I saw you did something else or based on something that most people would prefer to be hostages with Hamas than hostages with the Mossad or with the IDF or something like that. The facts around this war, you feel like you're like very hungover, plus someone smashed your head into a brick wall and hanging you upside down. It doesn't make sense, like based on the things that people like the three of us understand about who Jews are and the nature of what happened, and then how people are reacting to us or reacting to like it doesn't make any sense. And so in order to break out of this, it doesn't work. It clearly doesn't work. And we have academics that we've talked to who say, we need to tell people about it. We need to explain to people about it. But I think that maybe by being as irreverent as possible and really flipping it with comedy, it may enable us to break out of it, because just laying out the facts decade after decade, it's not moving it, and we need to break out of this. They did this, we sued them. We had one guest even, well, now Jews weren't even allowed in country clubs, and now they're allowed in country clubs. I'm like, I respect this person, but there's got to be way more. There's got to be much more to us than that.
One great thing about humor, like my approach, is I find it as a way to explain something in as few words as possible, either through a picture, through a meme. And how you said that, like, for everything that Jews are accused of, we have an explanation, often a very good explanation. Not everybody knows the answers to like all the accusations. I mean, somebody can throw out some random accusation. Look how many times people say that Israel what do you call it? Gave pills to Ethiopians so that they can't have babies. I mean, that's an absolute lie, right? That's a blood libel. People are just like, and you can explain it and say, look, no, that's not true. Israel didn't do that. There was a news story about some doctor, maybe, but a doctor in Israel is not Israel. They would take, how many people are sending me on the replies that, IDF soldier, like taking a screenshot of a news article, IDF soldier accused of rape. Okay, that's not the IDF. That's a person, and that shows that we have a structure in place to deal with criminals in our society. So, and yeah, it's not, so people, so rather than say like explaining every single thing that we're accused of, it just sounds like, okay, now the Jews have an explanation for this, so whatever. It's like, yeah, they can explain everything away. But you just hit them with something completely ridiculous, like a meme that just like explains, that could have a better explanation than any like.
No, I'm just hold on. I just quick interjection. Wasn't that a funny a post with Mayim Bialik and this comedian who's like, what's the Arab message? Kill the Jews. And then like, what's the Jewish response? Well, in 1948 with this, it's very short.
Right.
We proposed, they rejected, and so.
There's another one where, I don't remember who the comedian was, but they're like, okay, Kanye West was saying anti-Semitic things. And what is always the Jewish response to somebody who's being anti-Semitic? Let's invite him to Yad Vashem.
Yeah, right.
And like they can hate the Jew, and somebody like Kanye would go to Yad Vashem and come out going, "Wow, that was wonderful. Let's do it again." Like, is that how we want to fight it?
Yeah. So we could let's suppose that we have a justification and great evidence for every claim against us.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't move the needle. Because the place that it's coming from in people um, it bypasses the mind somehow. It's not about facts, and and that's why I think that I have some hope about what you're doing, that it kind of spins people around and throws them off the trajectory for a minute, because it's not about the mind. That
And I think a really powerful tool on our side is the converts who, and I've many of them actually became good friends and talk in private. The people who grew up in Muslim countries like Yemen and UAE, Saudi Arabia, people who and Palestinian Authority as well, people who, despite their anti-Semitic education, and they testify to this. They say, I grew up knowing that the Jews are evil and never to trust them. And like, this was implanted in our brains from birth. And then those people all of a sudden say, wait a minute, something doesn't add up here. Comes to visit Israel, talks to Jewish people, and then all of a sudden they're converted. They say, wow, I lied to my whole life, and becomes active on social media. Those are the most powerful. They show it because they have the followers on Twitter, because people are saying, wow, this guy's interesting because he went through that, and despite it all, he came out the other side.
Is there any common denominator between when you say converts, I thought you meant people who converted to Judaism. You don't.
No,
you mean people who changed their point of view about something.
Exactly.
Is there some thread between these people? Or it's just totally random and there's no method in order to communicate to people out there?
A good thing, I mean, all these people, I think almost all the people that made that passage have been interviewed, and what I'd like to do is go through those interviews and find that common thread, because maybe the answer lies somewhere in there. Do they have, but all of them will all say, like, something didn't add up. All of a sudden, I'll give you an example of an actual person. I don't if you guys know the Imam of Peace.
He's another one.
Muhammad Tawhidi, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm.
He was Imam that was ordained in Iran. Grew up, with the Iranian ideology, and then I think he had a story where his car broke down and a Jew helped him. And that was the moment that it switched in his head, that all of a sudden, here's a Jew. I thought all Jews were evil, but this Jew helped me with my car. I mean, to everyone else in the world, a Jew helping with the car would not even register on the radar. But for this person, it was like, this is life-changing. And he dedicated.
The question is, and I wanna kind of like really go even deeper, because I think we know where this is heading, but we can't scale that. We can't wait for a moment of an aha moment for every Jew hater. We're outnumbered. It's not happening.
What the Mossad can do is have all of the people who hate Israel have their cars break down.
Right, and then send the dolphins.
Now we're talking.
There we go. And then we plan a Jew coming to their car and helping them with their car. There we go.
So
solved it.
Solved it. Done. All right. So, we can stop here. So I wanna. I think maybe we want to lead you a little bit also in our direction, because obviously we have our thoughts as well on the matter, and we do see a thread, more collectively, not those individual aha moments, but really sort of a collective thing, and we feel it has to do actually with something that that makes us Jewish. And so I want you to think about it. We'll go hear a word from our sponsor, which is us for now, but a little short intermission. But in the meantime, think about it, and maybe think about it in through the lens of the Mossad or something. If And we ask everyone who comes here, if there are aliens who came down and asked, what's the deal with this group of people, which, cannot be clearly defined. They defy a lot of, all the statistics, and they don't make sense. They're a hodgepodge. It's hard to put your finger on them, yet they exert all that influence and draw all that attention. Who are they? And we haven't really even asked you, who are you as a Jew? What makes you Jewish and all that? But at least how would you explain it to an alien? So think about that for a second, and we'll get the word from our sponsor as soon as I can find the where is that? There it is, and then you'll be able to answer. You can't change the world, right? You can't change a country, you can't change a city, you can't change a neighborhood. It's hard to get everyone in your building to agree on something, but you can change yourself, and that's what we're after. Little changes that will grow to a critical mass. What we're saying also is that we Jews, we've had it. There was a moment in time that Jews actually touched that quality that the whole world is waiting for us to give them, and which is what we're discussing in our talks. And you can hear about it in episode 7 of the Mystery Book Podcast, the first 22 episodes of this whole series. And we go into some really heartwarming descriptions, right? Like the
Temple
Woodstock.
Love, that episode is called.
What's that? Temple Love, right?
Yeah, Temple Love.
Yeah, it was the Woodstock before Common Era.
Yeah, people should listen to that one and get a taste of something that they always knew should exist or could exist. It did exist. That's what we're looking to build. Check that out in episode number 7, Temple Love.
Well, this is the Thejewfunction, and let's get back to our guest. All right, and you're on. So,
All right. So
do you prepare a little fun meme for us or something?
Oh, I have to make a meme with this. This is under pressure here. So there's
Just
an alien. There's an alien. He came down from outer space. He's like, Zorp's up. What are Jews? That's his first question. No,
Right.
not. Okay. We'll get to me. Okay. I'm a secular Jew. I've never been religious. My parents, my dad is a little bit more religious than I've always been. But what's interesting is that I've always been live and let live. And I think that's how most Jews really are. Living in Israel, my neighbors are religious. My other neighbor's not religious. Every second house is religious. And I feel that it's like something that we complete each other. We do have the Jews that have the spiritual side, and we have the secular side. Define that how you would. And it's like something that's, I think, is unique to Judaism, because even though I don't find myself religious, I still could call myself a Jew proudly. What is it? It's a lineage that descended for 3,000 years, unified by a tradition, and a common, this is the spiritual side, a common book, a common guide for our lives. And, you have the spiritual people, the religious people who will, they'll guide the secular people. And we're all on the same train.
Where's it going?
Not to Auschwitz, I hope.
Where's it going?
Where's that train going?
Mm-hmm.
I think to whatever the person believes to find himself successful. And how do you define success? It's whatever that person believes. If it's, in business, in spirituality, in yoga, whatever makes you think that you're successful. I think that is really what defines us as a people. You really saw it when Israel became a state. We just came out of the Holocaust. We didn't spend 70 plus years saying, oh, they did this to us. We came out of the Holocaust. They did this to us. We are forever victims, and we are going to rely on other people to do it for us, to give us donations. everybody that came to Israel, the you know, what do you call them? The wow, I forgot the word. I've lost my English all of a sudden.
Say it in Hebrew.
Holtzim?
Channels. All the
Pioneers?
channels.
Pioneers, thank you.
Oh, these guys. Okay.
Yeah, the pioneers. They came to a desolate country, swamps, malaria, desert, nothing can grow. And they said, we're gonna build it anyways. We're gonna put our heart and soul into it. And they created the first parts of Israel. Like they recreated this homeland, and we've always been like, okay, we're gonna be successful using our brains. We're gonna apply ourselves. We're gonna use that technical information. Today in 2024, we're a high-tech monster in the global economy. Like there are thousands of businesses that just have these exploded into these exits and were bought by Google, and millions of people around the world use them. So we're using our own brains to like pick ourselves up by the bootstraps and succeed in whatever it is. And I think that's a really important part of Judaism, because I don't know, as a non-religious person, maybe there's something that teaches us to do that, that I don't know, but it's like I'm glad to be a part of that community. And I think that when October 7th happened, like we can disagree, two Jews, three opinions, but as soon as like a tragedy happens, we're all together in this. We all become one, and we all succeed together.
It's irrefutable that there's something special about us, right? Like 0.2% of the population, most of the Nobel Prizes, we're in politics, we're in Hollywood, we're in high tech, we're running the banks, like we control everything, right? It's irrefutable. Everybody knows. So I didn't even get a smirk out of you on that one, Shawn, but it's clear that the Jews excel in all of these things. We're really good at being citizens of Earth, at like doing the human thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And to continue in that, and to have good families and raise good kids and continue to add to desalinating water, and to building defense systems. Excellent. Let's say we're great, like everyone else, we're really good at being humans. Maybe some of the best on earth at being humans.
I believe it. Yeah.
Is there, and this is something that Leo and I strongly believe, that there's something bigger for Jews, for everyone. We specifically have some mission, light to the nations, receiving the Torah, whatever it means. And it doesn't mean that it's selfish and it's just for us. The point is that eventually, just like Waze is for everyone, and just like all the Jewish inventions go to everyone, in the same way, whatever it is that we're going to do is going to go to everyone. But above just being great humans, is there some eternal? Is there some? And it doesn't matter, because I think that when you talked about the pioneers, I think that there was a more religious approach to it, which is like, it's the Messianic era, we're returning to the land of Israel. And I think on the secular side, it was like, we need a place of our own. We're going to share all of our stuff, and we're going to build a great place where we're going to all help each other, and take like very kind of socialist. And I think you had those two, like you said, you and your neighbors, you had like secular and religious. So I think that there's those two things. But putting those two pieces together, do you feel that there's also something more, something bigger, as small as that little voice may be, that we have some bigger mission?
I think, again, coming from someone who's secular, it's I do believe that every individual has their own measure of success and to provide that success, to share that success with the masses.
Wait, I want to I want to spice
Yeah.
up your answer as you're about to
Yeah.
continue. So just as you just said about the individual,
Yeah.
just extend that to a collective. It's possible, makes sense logically. Forget about
Mhm.
secular religious, that just
Mhm.
like an individual has a path towards some form of success, which we can talk about because you said success several times,
Yeah.
and we need to maybe talk about it. But let's say there is that, and maybe you can share it. That is it possible that it's also can be applied to a collective, not just an individual, but a whole
Yeah,
group.
Jews have a
Yeah.
Jews
mission.
in this. Yes, we're talking about
Exactly.
Jews. Yeah. So
I believe it. So success is whatever the individual defines it, and that success, I think the desire to share that success with the world is a very big Jewish value. You see it when there's natural disasters around the world. One of the first people that show up are always Israel.
true.
Even if that country doesn't have the best relations with us, we put all that aside because we want to. Turkey, the earthquakes in Turkey, one of the first people on the ground were
Of course.
Israelis.
And they were one of the first countries to hate us after the seventh.
Exactly. Let's not forget about 2010 with the flotilla incident. How
Yeah.
we had terrible relations with them. But even still, Turkey has a very vibrant Jewish community. My grandmother on my mother's side is Turkish. So I mean, like, I have DNA from Turkey.
Probably a
So
few other things as well.
yeah. And on my dad's side, my dad was born in Syria. So we've always been, I think, the people who want to share whatever the individual considers success with the world. Here, another example, a few years ago, South Africa had a water crisis. I remember they had a countdown to day zero where they're going to run out of water. Everyone was in a panic. And Israel, one of the foremost countries in water conservation and water technology, came up and said, "We're going to come and help you. This is what we do."
And yet didn't stop them from taking us to Hague, right? To the Hague.
They didn't accept it. South Africa said no. I remember this. So it's like, on the one side, you have people that want to help, and other side, people who stick by their ideologies.
So, okay,
right?
so let me keep probing that because it's exactly where we want to go with it. It seems that on the face of it, everybody should embrace the Jews with open arms. Hey, the solution to all our problems, right? And yet it's not the case. What we're saying, some of the things that we're saying, and that when we say we, it's not we. I mean, you can read sage after sage, going back hundreds of years, and other types of evidence, let's call it. But what we're saying is maybe we're expected to give people something, as was the case throughout history, but that somehow, right at this point in time, that thing is not some sort of a tech startup, is not some sort of another way to trade money or to another social network or another, you know what I mean? Like all those great things that help the world along, right? Trade and commerce and information and you name it. There's always a Jew, is one of those main hubs that help that along. Maybe the people in the network, they intuitively or subconsciously, they want something else, and we're not giving them that. And so even if you have like you said, like water, I don't want your water. I want something else from you. Maybe they can't even articulate it, but we
For sure they can't articulate it.
yeah. But we think
it's an irrational hatred. They don't know
right,
what it is.
but they do write, a lot of them write about it. I mean, the ones
Not
who
a
are more
lot. A few very highly intelligent ones.
It's true. I mean, I'm saying I meant out of the more ideologues of the anti-Jewish right group. A lot of them take time to write about what they expect the Jews to bring them, to be sort of their guides, their teachers, their and I wonder if this has to do maybe with this definition of success that you kept mentioning a few times. Maybe that idea of success, for a human, what does it mean to succeed? Because if I'm looking at history, and I know we say a lot of things, so feel free to stop me. You can jump in. You don't have to be so Canadian about it. You could really just.
Light.
But the point is, if you look throughout history, success always comes, at the expense of someone else. This is a very egoistic world. It's driven by strong desires. It's the survival of the strongest, really. Yeah. At the top, you find the biggest egoists, not the biggest altruists. The president of America is the biggest egoist. The guys at the top of the CEOs are the biggest egoists, heartless even. In the last few years, they were the ones that identified as psychopaths even. So that's what the system is rewarding, is looking for, and the world is suffering for it. People are miserable. Forget the war and everything. Even without the war, people were not in a good place.
Yeah.
Does that build a picture for you? Is this enough to kind of?
Yeah. Like I said, I did mention when I caveat the word success with, everyone defines what success is, and everybody, with first thing that pops in their mind when they think of success, they're going to be president of the United States. They're going to have lots of money. They're going to have, usually when it's financial, that often historically. That success was at the expense of others. I think today we've learned, that's another Jewish value, is that we learn from our mistakes, and we learn how to succeed without stepping on somebody else, which is another accusation of the anti-Israel, who says, okay, you can have a state at the expense of Palestinians, but that's never been the intention, and you can know that through historic record, how there's always been a desire to share and to do this together, to be as one. So I think we've grown as like every society. We've grown, we've learned what we did wrong in previous generations. We've learned what we did right. And success and it doesn't matter. Like we could do the greatest thing in the world, and somebody will still find a fault. I'll give you another example. A few years ago, there was an earthquake in Nepal. Once again, Israel, one of the first people on the ground to help and aid and set up field hospitals. And Nepal is also a place where people adopt children in Israel. It's a very popular place to adopt children. And we had to get them out of harm's way. And I remember there was a story on the side and everything. So we're helping on the ground. We got people out of harm's way. We expedited adoption things, and that adoption thing is what stuck with the anti-Israel crowd there. And then all of a sudden, news articles: Israel kidnapped Nepalese children. That was the news article. So it doesn't matter what we do. We could do the greatest thing in the world, but they will find a fault.
That's it right there.
But that's it. That's exactly
the point. No matter what we do, they're going to find something wrong with us.
Yeah. The question is, why aren't we doing it toward each other first?
Doing what towards each other?
The good, this goodness, this going out of our way to help each other, to be good, to care for the other as if he's part of you. Why can't we really commit to that in Israel? Why until the 7th we were at each other's throats? Why only now you have reservists coming back from the front saying, I was wrong. I was out in Kaplan protesting, wanting to defeat the other, to cancel the other. Now I understand I have to invest in building bridges. They have a realization. It's still not love and all that, but it's a realization out of necessity. And that's really the crux of what we're saying, that all this good that we're exporting to the world is going to be meaningless unless we actually show it as an example between us. Specifically because we're such a hodgepodge. There was a historian, Paul Johnson, and he called Jews a pilot program for humanity. He said because they're so like, there's this mix of people. They defy all these things, and they're not part of one family, one ethnicity, nothing. If they can pull it together, if they can show the world that they can do it, the world is going to look. Jordan Peterson was here in Israel. He said the same thing. People are saying it, but we're not connecting that with what's actually happening to us around the world. It always falls to the wayside. Even now, you live in Israel. Even now, there's always already the beginning again. These voices of dissent, and I don't know how it's gonna even out with the reservists coming back. I don't know if they're gonna allow it, but I'm losing hair over that. Like I don't know. We both really feel very strongly about this point. I don't know. How do you see
I don't
it?
think that Jewish people are immune to, I guess, during times of non-conflict with an other, there's always the tendency to start looking inside, looking within, okay? And that can be a blessing, but it can also cause things like the judicial reform and the protests and everything, because now we are looking at within. For the first time, we're looking at ourselves and we're saying, oh, how can we make things better? How can we so when there's no other to unify ourselves against, then everywhere there's going to be people are going to create conflict out of nothing. How did I feel about the judicial reform when it first came out? Even I was like, wait a minute, something's up here, like something doesn't right. I never joined one of the protests because I never felt that passionately about it, but I was like one of the people that listening to both sides. I want to understand what's going on here.
But weren't you concerned about the level of animosity, the fact that they wanted to tear the country in two as a result of all of this that was going on?
Of course, I never want to see my country divided, but I mean, we're not immune to that. Every country has division. Everybody has ideologies, and everybody has, even within a certain group. Like, we're not homogenous in Israel. Everybody has, and
We're
that's
the opposite. What's the opposite? Heterogeneous. We're like,
heterogeneous, I guess.
yeah.
So I don't know. We're not immune to that, and it's a healthy aspect of democracy. I think so.
And Shawn, we're not looking for uniformity, and that's really, I think, that's exactly the point of what we're saying. We were also looking at history and looking at nature, and that's exactly what you see. We're not looking for uniformity. We're not looking for this oneness, the sameness. No, on the contrary, you want differences. You want this richness, but it needs to be bound together in this, right? Something has to kind of, cover it on top, a higher goal, if you will. Something that says, you know what, we're going to be different. We're going to argue, but like in a family, we're gonna.
We have it in the war now. We have it in the war now, but we want to see if it's possible, or not. We want to see if it's possible. We feel that that the mission of the Jewish people is to create this without, because each time we get a great war, we come together and we unite. But is that it? Is that the only time we can do it? Or can we, through a Mossad satirical account, unite the Jewish people without a war? That's the main question.
Exactly.
Yeah, I heard one previous episode where you're talking about, you guys have a thing with aliens, but it's like if an alien attack happens and the world will be unified, right?
Right. Then
we're looking for a creative solution, Shawn, because it's tough. There were 2 Jews left in Iran, and they had 2 synagogues.
Yeah.
So, and they were this close to building a 3rd one, so they can say, well, this is his synagogue, it's mine. This is the one neither of us goes to, right?
That's right. That's right.
What do we do? What are we doing? How can you help us along? How can we be an example to the nation in that exact thing? How can we make that the startup that people will want us to export? As soon as there's conflict, imagine. As soon as there's social earthquake, Jews send helicopters, and we come and we show them how to that's just like my brother-in-law. He's an idiot, but I love him. And this guy's like, let's have
Yeah.
a meal together. Like how do we do that? And I'm simplifying, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but Jews have the ability to hug it out after a big fight. I always laugh because the protests you see, protests in the United States, and they're flipping over cars and burning stores, having all out riots, and in Israel, every time you have a protest, 10 o'clock, 10:00, everyone packs up their things and goes home. And like the other day, the last week, there was a protest. I just happened to be driving by Bibi's house in Caesarea, and I wasn't there for the protest, but there was a protest in front of his house, and it was about 9:50, and about 10:05, it was like hordes of people. 10:05, and everyone's totally civil. Everyone's got their flags. Everyone's marching, and everyone's having a great time. 10:05, I was on my way out. All the protesters were gone. It's like we have a schedule. Like this is something that you don't see in any other country, right? Just to hug it out after even like after the biggest argument. How can we convince other people that that's the way to do it? How can we be an example to the nations? Who can convince something like that? It's just in our DNA that's how we are. I think that's something very unique about us, and something that someone from another culture doesn't understand. That doesn't like, it's not in his DNA. He just knows what he knows and everything. But I don't know. We have something very unique. You're right. Can we convince the world that this is the way? It's hard. You can't.
Can we
think about
our
our the Ten Commandments that we received? That we got a lot of help. Like even though it went through many different transitions, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, it turned into some Spanish conquistador going into Brazil, or Portuguese one going into Brazil, and a Spanish one going into Peru or wherever he went. Eventually, the Ten Commandments made it into the Amazon, into every single jungle, into every single African village. Like it wasn't exactly how we received it and we passed it, but it goes through the network.
Yeah. Well, they had missionaries, so we don't do missionaries.
No, but I guess what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
maybe not maybe, I think because of the nature of what we're doing, if we do it well enough between us, the network will do the job of passing it through.
And they say, hey, look at those Jews. They're actually they're doing it good. They're doing it right.
Exactly.
But Jews have also, from the beginning of time, just loved to argue.
It's okay. We can argue.
That is a wonderful thing about, it's how it translates to today's democracy. We keep that open. I always laugh because, like, when somebody asks me what's the Talmud, like I'm not a scholar in the Talmud, but I just say the Talmud reads like a Twitter argument.
Yeah, we had a rabbi here last week, and he brought the Talmud as
It's a Twitter argument. It's somebody says one thing, and there's an argument, and
But then the other rabbi doesn't block the first rabbi. That's the whole thing.
No blocking.
No blocking.
No blocking and reporting.
They continue, and then at the end they sit down and they have a drink together.
Exactly.
That's what we need.
Exactly. That's what we need.
So, Shawn, listen, it's getting late. You're sick. We don't want you to, wake up tomorrow morning and regret this whole thing. So, and we're really thankful for your time. I wonder if I'm posting in the chat here a quote from Martin Buber, and he wrote it a while back, but I think it's very apropos, relevant, kind of touches on a few things we talked about in our conversation. I wonder if you do us the honor and read it for everyone. And then if you could just sort of like in a few words, just if you could talk to not 500,000 people, which is plenty, I have to say. We're looking up to you, but maybe if you could talk to 5 million people, 5 million Jews.
5 million Jews. Yeah.
What would you tell them? So read that. Actually, Seth, what should we do? Should we do that, or should we do the protocols? I wonder.
No, this is better.
You like this one better? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. We'll leave the protocols for next time.
I don't like the
We have a whole item about the protocols, but we'll talk.
Yeah.
All right. So quote and then your.
All right. So the beginning of our labor on this free land must be that the actualizing of truth is achieved by the ideal society, which has been imbued in the people of Israel from the beginning of time. To do this, we must educate our children to aim their heart to live the life of truth and love each other in action. And we must, at this hour, create formats and make corrections to established institutions through whom this intention will be revealed without hindrance and come true. We must create a new work that stands firm so that we can give full account to our past and our future. Our desire to realize and our fulfillment will be first of all realized in humanity. That's a nice quote. That's a nice quote.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
So, what would you say?
I think we were talking about it, like achieved by the ideal society. You know, there is no ideal society. We're always working towards an ideal. But what makes us grow, it makes us learn, it makes us, I think that's a very, like I said, important value of Judaism. Even among the secular, even among the religious, everyone has that tie that binds that desire to learn and to be better and to build a better society and to teach others to share that beauty and to share that the success, to help others. And yeah, like we went back. Will people on the outside look at us and say that's a model way to live? Maybe, maybe not. People going to find faults? Of course they will. They'll find faults in everything. But it has to start from us. And that's how we'll get others on board. Just how we got the people who grew up with the hateful education, but somehow came out of it. That's our job.
Virtual hug.
Well, I have to say, you're
Thanks,
more
man.
serious. You were more serious than I thought you were.
Well, the serious questions. I mean,
It's our our life depends on it.
yeah.
Our children's lives.
They do.
But I especially liked what you said quite at the beginning, that if you can say it without explaining it, short, and kind of disarm them with humor, that maybe there's a chance of getting it done.
Yeah, you learn that people don't like to read a lot on social media. They want 5 words, a picture, bang. That's
All right,
it.
so now we're enlisting the Mossad to help us along. We're very, very thankful for Shawn for crawling out of bed, taking all those pills just to be with us here.
Thanks, man.
Pleasure, guys.
It was really great, and I have hope that humor is definitely has a big part of it. It's not I think
It's a tool.
there's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason why Jews have good humor, and you're continuing the tradition, Brooks and all the great ones.
That's
So
right.
we're the Thejewfunction. Obviously, everyone listening and hearing, like, share, comment, and Oh, by the way, a special request: if you go to Spotify and you hear the podcast there, please leave a review. It really helps us to stand out from all the noise. And we'll see you all next week. We have Seth Menachem with us, and it'll be fun. So, Shawn, thank you.
Thanks,
Seth,
Shawn. See you
Pleasure,
soon.
guys. See ya.
Bye-bye.
feel well. We'll see you around. Seth,
Bye, Leo.
goodbye.